On day 1, I spawned in as a baby robot. Whoa, I'm a tiny robot, but where am I? Why am I in a cage? I looked around and saw there were a couple other bigger robots nearby. They must be my parents. I decided I would go ask them what we were doing here. But before I had a chance to ask them, the door to the cage opened and a giant rat walked into the cage.
Alright, you junkers, time to get to work.
We're tired of taking orders from you. We can't stand by and watch this factory pollute the world any longer.
You think you can rise up against us? Sounds like I need to teach you a lesson, pal.
The rat lunged forward and started fighting my robot dad. As they were fighting, my robot mom came up next to me.
Zozo, the door's open. Move quickly and get out of here. We will hold him off.
But I don't understand. Why are we working for this guy? What are we doing here?
There's no time to explain, but he isn't even the one in charge of everything. I hope you never run into his boss. Now hurry, get out of here.
My mom hurried away to help fight off the rat, and I took the chance to rush out the door and escape. As I drove away, I turned around and saw the rat destroy my dad. Dad, no! I thought about going back, but I noticed I only had 6 hearts. If I was captured or killed, my dad's sacrifice would be in vain. As I drove away, I noticed that I had just escaped from a huge factory. There were big pillars of smoke coming out of it, which must have been causing all of the yellow haze. I better get out of here before that rat shows up, or worse, his boss. I was driving away when suddenly I started beeping, and my battery started to drain. Oh no, my battery is going to run out in 30 seconds. What's going on? In a panic, I backed up into the sunlight and saw that my battery immediately started to recharge and returned to full. Whew, that was scary. I must be a solar-powered robot. I'll have to be sure to stay in the light when I'm out and about. I soon found a good place to build a shelter for the night and quickly put up some walls. I made sure to leave the roof open so I could power back up in the morning. On day 2, I woke up to a full battery and sunlight coming into my shelter. Looks like my shelter kept me safe through the night, but I have a lot I need to figure out today, starting with rescuing my mom, if she's alive. I knew I wouldn't be able to get back into the factory without gearing up first, which is when I noticed that my arm was a permanent drill. I'll bet I can break all kinds of blocks with this arm. I'm going to try and go get some supplies. I stepped outside my base when I was suddenly attacked by some kind of tiny animal. Ah, what the heck are you? Get back! I swung my drill arm and quickly defeated the enemy. That looked like some kind of mutated bunny. I wonder where he came from. I'll have to keep an eye out. I headed over to a nearby hill where there were some trees growing and collected some wood and stone. Then I set up a crafting table and made an axe, shovel, and sword. My drill arm was pretty handy though, so I decided to start building a mine inside my base. I drilled into the ground and saw I was able to break a bunch of blocks at once. Whoa, mining is going to be a breeze. I was digging down and my battery alarm went off again. I was so excited about my drill, I almost forgot I had to stay in the sun. Luckily, I was able to get out before the timer ran out too quickly. Looks like I'm gonna have to be a lot more strategic every time I want to leave the sun. On day 3, I decided to venture out a little further to see if I could find some more supplies. I knew I still wasn't strong enough to break my mom out. As I got closer to a nearby cave, I saw something strange inside. What is that? It looks like there's a deactivated robot in there. Their battery must have run out. As I got closer to investigate, I was attacked by a mutant pig. Whoa, get back! The mutant pig had come out of nowhere, but I was able to quickly fight them off. As they disappeared, I saw a whole horde of pigs coming over the hill. I better get out of here. As I was driving away, I couldn't help but wonder what was happening to all of the animals and who was in that cave. Maybe they would be able to help me in the fight. I'd have to try and come check on them later. On days 4 and 5, I was running away when I stumbled across a small farming village, but noticed none of their crops really seemed to be growing. I decided to try and get more information, so I headed to the house at the top of the hill. Hello, is anyone home? The door opened and a farmer stepped out. Hey there, I'm trying to find out what's going on around here. What's wrong with your crops? She explained that the smog coming from the factory was killing all of her crops. Not only that, the smog was also turning all the animals into mutated versions of themselves. She explained that the only way would be to take out the factory's boss, Fat Cat, but everyone was too scared to get close to the factory, so she didn't know any good ways to do that. Well, I've been there once. I can try and get close and see what I can find out. Thanks for your help. I drove off in the direction of the factory. Hopefully I could learn something new before trying to break in. On days 6 to 8, I started making my way back towards the factory. As I reached the top of the hill, I ran into a mutated sheep. Ah, another one! Take this, you creepy sheepy! By using my sword, I was able to take it down. That farmer was right. The smog is making all the animals crazy. I kept going on my way when I ran into a zombie. As I started to attack him, I noticed he had something interesting in his hand. Are those robot tracks? I'm sure you won't mind me taking those off your hands. After a few hits, he was down, and I was right. He dropped a new set of tracks. I picked them up. Oh, nice! These Mark 1 tracks will give me an armor upgrade. Oh, and check it out! They gave me a speed boost, too! Now I'll be able to get farther on my limited battery. On days 9 to 10, I rolled up to the gates of the factory and took a look inside. I don't see much on this side. The workers must be inside. I'll go see if there's anything on the other side. As I got closer to the other side, I could see someone in a suit yelling at a robot. That suit, it must be Fat Cat. I looked into the yard and saw who he was shouting at. It was my mom.
We know you helped that little robot escape. You're gonna work overtime until we find him.
My mom didn't say anything. She was so brave. If I was going to help her though, I was going to need to find a way to get in. Just then, I heard some pistons moving and snuck over to where I heard the noise. As I peeked over the edge, I saw an opening in the wall of one of the guard towers, and a couple of rats were talking outside.
What do you think of my secret door? Pretty nifty, huh? Allie can sneak out and skip work. Nobody will know.
I still wasn't strong enough to fight, but knowing this will help me sneak in the future. As I turned to leave though, my new track squeaked, getting the attention of the rats.
Hey, what was that?
The rats rushed over to where I was hiding, but thanks to my new speed, I was able to get away without them seeing me. Don't worry, Mom. I'll come back for you. On days 11 through 14, I was heading back to my base when I realized the sun was starting to set. I started putting together a small hut to protect me for the night when I was suddenly attacked by a giant mutated zombie. Holy cow, this guy is huge! I started to build even faster but couldn't focus as I had to keep running away from the zombie. If he keeps chasing me, I'm not gonna be able to finish my house before the sun goes down. The sun kept going down and my battery soon started to beep, starting the 30-second countdown. Oh no, if I could just finish. As much as I tried, I couldn't finish the house. All I could do was jump into the unfinished build and hope for the best. My battery let out a final beep, and I deactivated. On day 15, I awoke to an unfamiliar face looking at me.
Huh?
Good morning, little friend. How are you feeling?
What happened? Who are you?
Don't be alarmed. My name is Gary, and I'm here to help. I managed to grab you before that zombie could rip you to pieces.
Thank you. You saved me. Whoa, and what's this? Did you upgrade my battery?
I did. I wish I could do more, but I only had parts on hand to give you a 60-second charge when you're out of the sun.
Wow, that's great. How did you know how to do that? The old man sighed before heading into his story.
My wife and I actually used to work at the factory building robots just like you. It was a clean, safe place for everyone, and the factory didn't produce the pollution that you see today. But then one day Fat Cat showed up and turned it into the mess you see now. He mistreats the robots and makes them work non-stop, which causes the factory to pollute the land. My wife and I had to flee for our safety. We planned to save the land from the factory, but my wife got sick and wanted to spend her last days growing her flower garden. But nothing would stay alive. She passed away soon after. I can't take Fat Cat down by myself, and everyone else is too afraid to help. But if you are willing to work with me, I think we can do it.
I'm so sorry to hear about everything you've gone through. Fat Cat has taken enough from us. Let's take this guy down. On days 16 to 19, I left Gary's house and went to find a good place to build myself a base of operations. After a little bit of searching, I found a good spot to start building. I first cleared out the land, then got to work laying the foundation of the house. Then I put up walls to keep the mutants out, and finally, put up the base itself, making sure to leave windows in the ceiling for light to get in. Once that was finished, I filled the interior with everything I would need. Home sweet home. I hope this can be a place of safety for anyone who wants to help in our fight. That reminded me, what happened to that robot I saw in the caves? If I could just get a little stronger, I could fight my way past those mobs and see what was going on. On days 20 to 22, I woke up to sheep sounds outside my base. Oh nice, I could use their wool to build some things. I hurried to my base door and saw a bunch of mutant sheep outside. Oh right, I forgot everything here was green. Oh well, good to know my walls kept them out. I opened the door and started to fight them. I noticed a little mutant bunny was also joining in on the fight. How'd you get mixed up with these bad people? I finished them all off, no problem. After the fight, I could feel a power surge and I suddenly grew into a bigger robot. Alright, I even gained 4 more hearts. I looked closer at my drill. It now had a diamond tip.
Wow.
I decided to go and give it a test. It looks like I can break blocks even faster than before. This is great. On days 23 to 27, I left my base to try and look for that robot in the cave. I had no idea if they would still be there, but maybe they could help in our fight against Fat Cat. Since I had just gotten my new upgrades, it felt like the right time to try again. Before I got back to the cave, I stopped by an abandoned mine shaft I had seen earlier. I'm going to need a way to transport the robot back so I can take these old rails to do it. I soon gathered up all the rails and found myself looking over the cliff to the cave. It looked like the robot was still in there, so I rushed down the hill and attacked the mutant pigs. I'm not gonna run away this time. They put up a good fight, but my new abilities were too much for them. I fought as hard as I could and won. Finally, now I can get this robot out of here. Looks like they're deactivated. I quickly laid down some tracks, got the robot into a minecart, and started heading back to the base. On days 28 to 32, I arrived back at the base, and I saw Gary had moved a lot of his supplies in. This will help us coordinate our plans much easier. Gary, I found this robot out in a cave. Do you think you can help her?
Oh, I recognize this model. They call her Eve.
Gary took a look and could immediately tell what was wrong.
Yep, looks like her battery's fried. She must have been caught out in the wilderness.
So what can we do? Do you think you can fix her?
Not with the supplies I have on hand, but I know of a warehouse in the desert that used to have the components. I can tell you where to go to find it.
Gary told me where to go, but before I left, I made some improvements to the base. I added a second layer to the walls and got to work on building Gary a house to work out of. Everything was looking great, and I even built a working drawbridge. No one is going to be breaking into here. On days 33 to 36, I was getting ready to leave when Gary stopped me and said he had something to ask me.
Zozo, I had a question to ask you. Why are you so nice to everyone?
Well, I wish I could take all the credit, but there's a robot I really look up to who has inspired me to be nice and always try and help. He's a sassy dude, but in the end, he always does the right thing.
That's great. I think we should build a statue of this robot as a symbol to everyone, but there are still good in this world.
That would be a great idea. I rushed out and was able to find some non-mutated sheep to use for the build. I led them back to the base and put them in a pen I had made. Then I got to work on the statue. I started with the base, then moved on to the statue itself. After a while, I had finished the first part. This is coming along great. I hope you're enjoying it so far too. If you like what you're seeing, be sure to subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll never miss my next adventure. On days 37 to 40, I entered the desert to begin my journey to the warehouse. I can already feel the temperature rising, but that means lots of sunlight for my battery. As I made my way toward a small hill, I heard a strange sound up ahead. I wonder what that could be. As I came over the hill, I saw a group of mutant horses who attacked me. This feels so wrong to be fighting horses. But you guys aren't as nice as your non-mutant brothers. After a tough fight, I was able to finish them off. I made it through, but these mobs were getting tougher. I'm gonna have to find a good spot to build a camp and craft some upgrades. Who knows what could be waiting for me at the warehouse. On days 41 to 43, I found a nice spot against the cliff full of ores. Whoa, look at all these ores. I can use these to give myself an upgrade. I also noticed there was a nice spot in the corner where I could build a camp. I quickly laid down some blocks for a foundation and then set up all the tools I would need. Then I worked on building the walls and finished it up with a glass ceiling. With the base set up, I headed over to the ore deposit and mined out some gold and some iron. I can use this iron to upgrade my armor, and I've got a special item in mind for the gold. I quickly smelted down all the iron in my blast furnace, then got started smelting all the gold. Then I made an iron chestplate, iron leggings, and an iron helmet. With the leftover iron, I decided to make myself an iron sword, axe, shovel, and hoe as well. To finish up, I then made a gold block, which I then mixed with some gold bars in my tire tracks. This let me upgrade my tracks to the Mark II version, which gave me even more protection than before.
Wow.
I feel like I can take on anything now. Let's go find that warehouse. From days 44 to 49, I left my house to finally find the warehouse. After a while, I could finally see it. That must be it. I hope the parts we need are inside. As I entered the building, I could see the place was in ruins. This place has been completely picked apart. It looks like I might just have to head home and figure something else out.
Hey, you!
A little rat came running over to me. What could he want? What do you want? Aren't you working with Fat Cat?
No, not at all. You think rats want to work with cats? That giant rat has betrayed all rat kind, and I want to take him out. You think you can help?
It sounds like we want the same thing, but how do I know I can trust you?
You came here to this warehouse because you're looking for something, right? The giant rat cleaned all these warehouses out and moved everything to his base. I can show you where it is.
I didn't know if I could trust him, but I agreed to work with him, so we headed off to the base. On days 50 to 53, the rat and I were traveling when a gazelle called out to us from a village. It looked like something was wrong. Hey, what's going on? She told us that a group of husks were attacking their village and they needed our help. If we would help them, she would give me something useful. I'm always happy to do what I can. She led us into the village and I charged at the husks. The rat even joined in on the fight. Maybe I could trust him after all. It wasn't long until we had eliminated all of the husks. And stay down. The gazelle thanked us for our help and told us to follow her to the village workshop. When we arrived, she told me to take what was inside the chest. Whoa, are these blueprints on how to build a focus lens? If I can build that, then I could use it to redirect light into deep holes for mining. On days 54 to 57, I decided I would construct a lens and try to mine for diamonds. I first needed to gather some resources though, so I headed out into the desert. While I was on my way, I was suddenly attacked by a gang of mutant cats. These mutant animals are just getting weirder and weirder. I noticed there was a little mutant bird fighting along them too. A bird fighting with cats and rats are working with Fat Cat? This world is crazy. After beating the mutants, I got to work digging up some sand to make glass. Once I had collected all the sand I needed, I headed back to my base and started smelting the sand. Alrighty, time to start building this lens. I constructed 2 pillars for the base, then put the lens together using the glass I had just smelted. There was a shadow on the ground for now, but once I turned the lens, that should disappear. Okay, let's see if this thing works. I headed over to the activate button and gave it a press. As the lens rotated, I saw the shadow on the ground disappear. I quickly got to work digging a deep hole. It's nice to not have to worry about my battery running out. Once I started to hit bedrock, I built an angled mirror at the bottom so I could do some strip mining. The mirror was able to reflect enough light for me to be able to start mining to the side. Before long, I mined into a room full of diamonds. Amazing, this is just what I needed. I quickly mined all of the ores that I could and then headed out of the mine to craft. On days 58 to 62, I headed into my base to start crafting with the new materials I had just mined. I noticed that while I had been down in the mines, the rat had made himself a small hut off to the side of my base. Pretty cozy. Back at my crafting table, I made a diamond chestplate, helmet, and leggings. With the remaining diamonds, I also made myself a sword. Feels good to know this armor will keep me safer than before. The fight against Giant Rat will be a tough one. On days 63 to 66, I met the rat outside my base. Before we get going, is there anything else that I need to know?
Yeah, you'll need all the support you can get. So anyone who is listening to this should subscribe and like the video. That ought to give you the strength you need.
That's true. That would help a ton. The rat and I headed off to go fight the giant rat. We soon left the desert and entered the Badlands. As we made our way, we suddenly saw a pack of mutant wolves headed right at us. Mutant wolves now? This just doesn't even surprise me anymore. The rat and I launched into attack mode and fought against the pack. The rat was proving to be a good teammate and we were able to defeat them in no time. Nice job. I feel like we're making a great team. On days 67 to 70, we made our way to the edge of a cliff overlooking the giant rat's warehouse. Whoa, do you see that? Running into the warehouse was a huge pack of rats, all carrying different pieces of loot. We were definitely in the right place. All right, buddy, what's the best way in? I waited for the rat to reply, but he didn't say anything. Suddenly, I heard a bunch of squeaking and saw the pack of rats come screaming out of the building. They were headed right towards us. He had betrayed us. No, I thought you were my friend. Soon the rats were on me and I tried to fight them off. Oh no, there's so many of them. I don't know if I can get out of this one. I managed to take a few of them out, but it felt like a fight I couldn't win. And I was right. The rats injected me with something that depleted my battery, and I shut down. While I was shut down, the rats pushed me down the hill, into the warehouse, and locked me away in a cell. On days 71 to 74, I started the day deactivated in the jail cell, when suddenly there was a huge explosion in the ceiling. The roof blew away, which let light come in, recharging my battery to full. As I turned back on, I saw Gary jump in from the ceiling. Gary, you're here!
Come on, Zozo, let's get you out of here.
Gary set some TNT by the jail doors and blew a hole in the bars. As we jumped through, we were attacked by the gang of rats. You guys aren't going to shut me down again. With Gary's help, we were able to fight off the horde of rats, but since we were out of the sun, my battery had started to deplete again.
Don't worry, Zozo, I've got a solution to your battery problem.
Gary took out his bazooka and blasted a hole in the roof, which let the sun come in. I quickly recharged.
Let's take a look in these supply closets. I'm sure there's going to be some useful items.
Gary and I started looking at all the crates, and there were tons of useful items. Netherite scraps. I can use this to upgrade my gear. I went ahead and grabbed the emeralds too, just for good measure. We continued moving through the warehouse, with Gary blowing holes in the roof as we went. In the next room, we found even more supplies. More netherite scraps, and healing potions. Whoa, and check it out, gold nuggets. Just what I need to make some netherite ingots. We'd gotten some good loot, but we still needed to get parts to fix Eve. There was only one place we hadn't checked, Giant Rat's office. On days 75 to 78, we reached the Giant Rat's office. Watch out, Rat Man, we're coming in. I punched the door open and headed inside with Gary. Giant Rat was inside on his desk. Eve's battery was on the wall behind him. Give us the battery, or we're going to have to take you out too.
This battery powers the one robot with the code to shut down Fat Cat's factory. You found it, didn't you? I know where your little base is. Once I've taken care of you, I'll destroy that little robot once and for all.
We'll never let you destroy her. We're taking that battery and shutting the factory down. Just then, the giant rat leaped forward and started attacking Gary. We both pulled out our weapons and started to fight. Stay strong, Gary. We can beat this guy. The giant rat was really powerful, and my health bar got really low. But in the end, we were finally able to defeat him. We did it. Nice job, Gary. Let's grab the battery and get out of here. Gary? I turned and saw that Gary had been seriously wounded. Gary, you don't look so good. Come on, let's get you some help.
There's no time, Zozo, but there's something you should know first. I was the one that hid the robot Eve away. She needed to be in a safe place. I thought telling you what code she contained would put you in too much danger.
The more he spoke, the worse he looked. It's okay. Maybe you should sit down. Gary slumped down against the wall.
You've been a great friend, Zozo. I know you can do this. She would have loved you too.
She?
I had hoped to see her flowers bloom one more time. My wife. Her name was Eve.
Gary put his head down and he was gone. Thank you for everything, Gary. I won't let you down. On days 79 to 84, I grabbed the battery off the wall and left the office. I couldn't believe Gary was gone. As I headed down the stairs, I heard a familiar voice.
So now that the giant rat is gone, you need a new leader. And that leader should be me.
This whole time that rat was just trying to take over the rats. I couldn't let this stand. You cost me everything. I charged down the stairs and attacked the rat. I was so angry I was able to defeat him in no time. All the other rats were so scared they didn't even try to get involved. I've got to get this battery back to Eve and shut down the factory. I headed out to return to the base. On days 85 to 89, I arrived back at the base and put Eve's battery pack in. After a moment, she booted up and looked right at me.
Hello, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Zozo. Gary told me that you should have code to shut down the Fat Cat factory. Is that true?
That is correct. I would be happy to assist you with doing so. Where is Gary? I would love to see my creator again.
He didn't make it, but he would have wanted us to work together.
I see. I'm sorry to hear it, but I agree. Gary and Eve are my best friends, and I'm sure we will be good friends too.
I agree, which reminds me, do you think you could help me with something? Eve and I headed outside, and I got her help finishing the robot statue. Finishing the statue gave me the courage to be brave. Brave like my robot hero, and brave like Gary. Before long, the statue was complete. This looks amazing. Thanks for all of your help, Eve. From there, I went to work on building Eve a place to stay as well. I made sure to give her everything she needed to be comfortable. Once I finished the outside, I worked on decorating the inside with all the tools she'll need. With everything complete, I just had one more task to finish. Using the nether scraps and gold I had collected, I made a netherite ingot. Then, I used that to upgrade my diamond sword. Nothing's gonna stop us now. On days 90 to 94, I decided I should go through Gary's room to see if there was anything he may have had to help us in the final fight. As I was looking around, I came across Gary's diary. His last entry confirmed his plan to follow me to the warehouse. Under that entry was a note meant for me.
If you're reading this, I didn't make it. The last thing I need to tell you is that Eve knows how to do something special. She can also craft a battery for you. With such a battery, you can function without the need for sunlight.
Wow, what an amazing gift. I'll go ask her. I headed back out and found Eve. I asked her about the battery.
Let me check my data logs. Scanning. Oh yes, I found the recipe. Right this way.
Eve grabbed some supplies from a chest, then headed over to the crafting table. Moments later, we headed outside, and she tossed the new battery pack to me. I put it in. I immediately felt a power surge and turned into a giant robot. My battery pack showed it was upgraded too. Whoa, look at me. I feel great. Fat Cat isn't gonna know what hit him. On days 95 to 96, I headed outside to meet up with Eve. Today's the day, Eve. Let's go save the world. Eve and I took off in the direction of the factory. After a while, we arrived near the edge. Looking ahead, I could see some rats patrolling the perimeter. Once they had passed, we snuck up to the hidden entrance I had seen before. If we hit this button, it will let us inside. I hit the button and Eve and I snuck inside. Once we were in, we didn't see anyone else around. It looks like the coast is clear. Let's see if we can get to the robots inside. As we ran across the open space, we heard a squeak. A single rat guard was standing there. Maybe he can tell us where the robots are. Hey, don't move and we won't hurt you. Where are all the robots?
Fat Cat gathered them all in the incinerator room. He's threatening to melt them all down because one lady robot keeps trying to lead revolts.
That sounds like my mom. Thanks for the tip. We can't risk you giving us away though, so I'm sure you won't mind us locking you up. Eve shot a rat net at him, which put him in a rat sack. I picked him up and put him in my safety compartment. Come on, let's get to the incinerator room. On days 97 to 98, we entered the incinerator room and saw my mom dangling above the lava pit. We have to save her. Hang on, Mom, we'll get you out. I looked across the room and saw a lever that controlled the device, but then I noticed a rat on the other side of the room watching us. He ran towards the lever. Oh, no, you don't. I ran toward the rat while Eve started shooting her laser cannon. It was a close one, but we managed to take him out before he could pull the switch.
Zozo, is it really you?
Mom, I'm so glad to see you're still alive. Where are all the other robots? We have to get everyone out.
Fat Cat is keeping them locked in the next room over. I can get them out, but I don't know how we'll get out of here unnoticed.
There's a secret entrance that we use to get in. You guys can use that to escape.
Thank you, Zozo, and be safe. Fat Cat will be in the main factory. I love you. Good luck.
On day 99, we left the incinerator room and made our way towards the main factory. On our way toward the factory doors, we heard a terrifying voice.
Well, if it isn't little Zozo.
Fat Cat was looking down at us from the factory's second-story window. Fat Cat, the madness has to stop. We're shutting down this factory one way or another.
We'll see about that. Rat Pack, attack!
Just then, the largest pack of rats I had ever seen came charging at us. This must have been every rat in the factory. Time to see how good my upgrades really were. Bring it on, you little creeps. Eve and I threw everything we had at the rats. With my new abilities, these rats didn't stand a chance. Eve shot them with her laser cannon, and I hit them back with my new gear. Before long, we had managed to take most of them out, which made the remaining rats all run away in fear. Yeah, you better run. Eve and I walked up to the factory door, but before going in, I turned to talk to Eve. Eve, I could really use your help in this fight, but we can't risk you getting hurt. We need you to stay safe so you can shut down the factory.
I understand. And Zozo, there's something else I want to say before you go in there.
Yeah, what is it?
I know you'll make it through this, and I just think everyone should subscribe so they can see what you'll do next.
Wow, that really means a lot to me, Eve. Thank you. I'll see you when it's all done. On day 100, I entered the factory and saw Fat Cat looking down at me from the second-story balcony.
It's over, Zozo. I have the high ground.
What?
This little revolution ends today. I don't care how many rats you kill or how many robots you free. I'll never shut this place down.
And just like that, he attacked. As we exchanged blows, it was clear to me that he was way stronger than I could have thought.
You could have had a great life working in my factory and making me rich, but it looks like it's over for you.
My hearts were getting really low. It didn't look like I was going to make it. But just then, a laser came out of nowhere and hit Fat Cat. Eve! Eve came in and started fighting with Fat Cat, which gave me a second to use my potions and heal up. Then I got back into the fight. You're in trouble now, Fat Cat. As I started to fight, I was able to distract Fat Cat and lead him away. While I did that, Eve snuck around to the main factory shutoff and input her code.
No, my factory!
Suddenly, Fat Cat stopped moving and a tiny cat popped out. He was a cat in a robot suit this whole time.
There he is, boys. Get him.
The pack of rats appeared and chased Fat Cat out of the factory. We did it, Eve! I'm sure the world will return back to normal in no time. Now let's go find my mom. We have a lot of catching up to do. I think Gary would have been proud.